Welcome back to another episode of CCW Insider, where you hear about the matches and stories from wrestling's last territory, Coastal Championship Wrestling. I'm Ryan Joy from MinutesToBellTime.com, a website and database tracking pro wrestling from around the world. In episode number 6, I'm talking with the Florida Man, TC Reed. We talk about Reed's nickname, his entrance music, and everything that makes Trevor TC Reed. Reed talks about the jobs he's done outside the ring, the wrestlers that inspired him, and his big singles match against Noah King at Saturday Night Slam. This is a great interview, and it's coming at you right now. I'm talking with the Florida Man, TC Reed, who seems to be getting the CCW fan base on their feet singing every time he walks to the ring. He'll be facing Noah King at this weekend's Saturday Night Slam event in Homestead, Florida. TC Reed, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, sir.
Absolutely.
Good to be here.
Well, we have to dive right in. When I hear the phrase Florida Man, I know exactly what that means. There's a million outrageous headlines that start with the phrase Florida Man this. What is the story?
You know, it started as a joke. I was like, you know what? I'm trying to think of who I am and what I could bring to my wrestling, my wrestling persona. For the longest time, I was always a tag team wrestler, and I was always able to work and mesh well with different tag team partners, whether it was with Mike Monroe with Tech or with Steve Beck, and I never had to really have a singles run in the longest time, and I was trying to come up with different things, and I was always known as that Florida guy. Like, oh yeah, Trevor. Oh, we know Trevor. That's the Florida guy. Hey, you need a good guy to get in the ring and get the crowd going. Get the Florida guy. And Florida guy just never worked. And then eventually we're going through all the, as seen on TV or all the radio news stories and all the blog posts about, hey, Florida man coming. Florida man did this, Florida man did that. And I was like, oh, you know what? That would be kind of cool to be known as the Florida Man. And there's always that person. Everyone goes, oh, Florida Man, who's that? Like, oh, what's he going to do? You never know. You never know with the Florida Man. And I kind of like that because sometimes I personally don't know what I'm going to do next. And that's always it's always a good sign.
So you're not the Florida man who got tired of waiting at the hospital and stole the ambulance and drive home. That's not you.
At least not yet. Not yet.
I was hoping that you were going to tell me that there was this news story that you were the Florida man, and that might come someday.
It's coming. The more chaos and craziness we've been getting into at CCW. I'm bound to have my own Florida Man news headline sometime this year.
Florida Man becomes Florida Man.
I'm growing the beard out and let the hair grow a little longer. It's just, and I'm working on it.
So, CCW fans, I think, mainly know you as a wrestler. You talked about, you were a tag team wrestler. You're doing singles now, but I know you've had a few different jobs in pro wrestling world, not just a wrestler. So, you care to tell people, about your entire wrestling background?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hats that I've worn in wrestling, and I've been able to do not just wrestling. I started my wrestling career as a referee for some events down in Miami. I've been able to do ring announcing. I've been doing timekeeping, bell keeper, timekeeper. Outside of the wrestling event, outside just inside the ring, I've been able to rent and set up wrestling rings all over the state. I've actually ran several events in my promotion pre-pandemic. Ronin Pro Wrestling. I was able to run events down in Pembroke Pines for a couple of years, and I've been able to handle that 3-ring circus of trying to run an event and get everything coordinated to do that. Now with CCW, I get to work in the back as an agent, and I have my hand as far as booking and helping come up with matchups and different different cards for some of the upcoming events, especially the breakout events, and even the I know we'll talk about it later, the Saturday Night Slam events. And then during the week too, whether we have a show or an event or we're off that weekend, I'm here at the CCW Academy or training facility and training alongside with Gangrel, and not just working and training with myself and improving my skills and everything, but also working with the young, the upcoming, the greenhorns of CCW.
And I would think that with all that experience you just talking about, referee, ring announcing, promoter, you must have set up a ring 1.5 million times. so I would think all that experience you'd be kind of invaluable to those training sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I would recommend everybody in pro wrestling. I know everybody wants to become a professional wrestler, to be a professional wrestler, to be able to perform and showcase their skills in a wrestling ring. But it's very important, it's very vital to learn as many different skills and learn different occupations in professional wrestling, because you never know what comes up. There have been times where I've been on an event or on a show where, something with the ring snapped or something under the ring broke, or they had to fix something. And, with all the amount of reps I've gotten in setting up rings on my own, I've been able to, save some events from not happening at all, because I have those skills, and I've learned from my own experiences. And I feel like if everybody goes through, not only will you learn and you'll have a better appreciation for what everybody does on a wrestling event with all the different moving parts, you become someone that, hey, I want this guy in my locker room, because if something happens, not only can he go and do his job, he can go above and beyond when he is needed or she's needed.
Sure. And you mentioned Gangrel a few minutes ago. We were fortunate enough that he was on this show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I wondered, could you talk about how important it is to have a guy like him at the training facility?
Oh yeah, Gangrel. It's very. I've been wrestling. I think I'm coming on to my 12th or 13th year of training and working in the wrestling business. But I started training with Gangrel back in 2017, 2018, and the past 4 or 5 years, he's completely changed. I thought I knew. I thought I know there's always more to learn, but I thought I had a good understanding of professional wrestling and the ins and outs. But I mean, Gangrel has completely shook me up as far as just fine tuning and nitpicking the smallest little things that I wouldn't even come up with on my own. And just fine tune everything, and just the short amount, just the 4 or 5 years that I've been training with Gangrel, my in-ring ability and just my thought process and different things have definitely leaps and bounds of where I was or where I would be if I didn't have a guy like Gangrel. I know everybody's so used to or so accustomed to, when they think Gangrel, it's not a Vampire Warrior, it's WrestleMania 15, helping the Undertaker take out the Big Boss Man, but Gangrel has been around. He's been around for a long. He's been wrestling a lot longer than I've been alive on this earth, and he's been everywhere from Florida. He's gotten to work with the Memphis area, with Lawler and Jarrett and all the time he spent in WCW, and there was a lot of times that he spent in Japan and Canada and in Europe. Gangrel is definitely a journeyman of the professional wrestling. So he offers a lot of great things, and he made it to the big times. If you want to be in the big times, the best thing to do is get with somebody who's been there, who knows the sacrifices, who know the struggles, who know the ups and downs of having to, how to get to where they were. So Gangrel being here is it's great, not just for me, someone who's been in wrestling, but someone who's looking to get their feet wet and look into becoming a professional wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he talked about that on the show. He's if you come into CCW and train, you're going to know how to wrestle when you leave. He may not be able to teach you how to do the 450 splash, but you're gonna know how to wrestle. So,
yeah.
I talked about it in the intro when I kind of set it up. You come out to the ring, huge smile on your face. The whole crowd is singing "Take on Me." Talk about that song. What made you choose that song as sort of the entrance?
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of the first time I used that song. Honestly, I think it might have been a joke. I don't remember what. I knew for the longest time I used to actually come out to who's like the Relax, the Zoolander song, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, the Relax song, and I know I think there was one show. I'm thinking of which event it was, but I think somebody tried to rib me, or someone tried to play a joke on me. Said, you know what? We're gonna mess with Trevor. We're gonna change this whole thing up. Pick a goofy '80s song for him to come out to. Let's see what happens. And it was probably the best choice. It probably whoever was trying to rib me, definitely it backfired on them, because I know a lot of guys, they like to use their music to hype themselves up, and they try to channel whatever's inside them before they get inside that ring. And my biggest thing is I want to feel relaxed. No pun intended about the Frankie Goes to Hollywood song. But I want to be relaxed. I want to be moving. I want to have a good time. And of course I want the crowd to be having a good time too. And I didn't plan. As I continue to use this song in my entrance, I never intended the crowd to know the song. But for as long as that song's been around, and I'll tell you, just any given day, I'll get an Instagram video or instant message, or someone will Facebook message me, and they'll be recording their radio while they're driving and AHA comes on the 102.7 radio station. Hey, it's TC Reed, it's the Florida man. Hey, where you going? Where you coming? And I love that too, because not only do they recognize it and think of me when I come out to the ring, the song plays in a store, the song plays in their car, and I'm the first person they think of. So I definitely feel really flattered about how this thing all worked out.
It's one of those songs that
it's too good.
Everybody knows, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's like it's an obscure song, but everybody knows it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And everyone, and for whatever, everybody has to sing it. No.
Yes.
I remember there was one time at the last bash or the last Homestead Saturday Night Slam match I had. It takes me back. Like, it shocks me the amount of people, and everybody's singing on cue, and everybody's having a good time. And and that's one of my biggest things. I'm not here to wrestle for myself. I do enjoy wrestling for myself and being there, but it's all about the paying fans. It's all about everybody who comes to the event, who comes to support me and my match at CCW. I want to make sure they're having a good time too.
All right, I dare you not to think of TC Reed the next time you see Florida Man in a news headline. And I'll bet you'll also think of him the next time you hear Take On Me. Such a classic song, even though I butchered it. Coming up in the second half of our interview, we're going to hear TC Reed tell us about the wrestlers that inspired him. He'll also talk about his opponent for Saturday Night Slam. That's Noah King. That is all coming up right after we talk about Alive Wrestling. All right, I dare you not to think of TC Reed the next time you see Florida Man in a news headline. And I bet you'll also think of him the next time you hear Take On Me. Such a classic song, even though I am totally butchering it right now. Coming up in the second half of our interview, we're going to hear TC Reed tell us about the wrestlers that inspired him. He'll also talk about his opponent for Saturday Night Slam. That's Noah King. All that and more coming up right after we talk about Alive Wrestling.
Attention wrestling fans, the place to be each and every Tuesday is on the Coastal Championship Wrestling YouTube channel, where a new episode of CCW Alive Wrestling drops at 7 p.m. Witness the hard-hitting, high-flying action that is synonymous with the longest-running independent wrestling promotion in the southeastern United States. Subscribe today and don't you dare miss it.
So I think the last bash, I think you had wrestled Fuego, or not bash, the last Homestead show, Saturday Night Slam, you wrestled Fuego del Sol.
Yeah.
And this week you have Noah King. Talk about Noah as an opponent. How long have you known him, and what do we expect to see here on Saturday?
No, I've watched I've watched Noah here, train and work out here over the past several months. I know for a while, for as long as I've known him, he was also in a tag team for quite some time too, and he's found some success in tag team wrestling. But I've been watching him now that he's sort of taken, sort of the same route that I've had. He went from tag team wrestling and he's trying to transition into that singles wrestler. It's definitely going to be interesting to see because I know he's got a very technical. I've only spoken to him a few times at training about as far as matches and who he studies and what his thought process is when it comes to becoming a better professional wrestler. I definitely see a lot of technical. A technical matchup when I step in the ring with him. I think you'll see a lot of the high flyers and the hard hitters at Saturday Night Slam. But I think we're probably gonna do some wrestling holds, and get some different. See how many times I can tie this guy up, and see how many times I can get untied from him, and see what kind of fun we'll have with him.
Sure. So, I want to get into your. It's always fun to talk to people about their origin story when it comes to wrestling. So, I get the impression that you watched wrestling growing up.
Yeah.
You're a big wrestling fan. I mean, I see it in your ring gear and everything else.
Yeah.
So, talk to me. Who are some of your favorites? Who are your inspirations?
I mean, definitely. If we're talking ring gear, my inspiration was Macho Man Randy Savage with the Florida Man TC Reed gear. I mean, that was my biggest. As soon as I came up with the idea of doing the Florida Man, that was the first thing. I was watching some WCW Worldwide a few months ago, and I saw it's not Steamboat. Macho Man come out with the jacket and long tie, and he had the cowboy boots with the tassels, and I was just, I've never had gear like that. I've never had a ring jacket like that. So I said, all right, my first real ring jacket, I got to have something just like the Macho Man, the Florida Man, yeah, the Sunshine State Sun, yeah, come out. I can't do the voice yet. I don't know if I can do that. It might be too much. I don't want to be copying too much from Mr. Savage. No, but a lot of my in-ring. It's just all over the place. Everybody asks, hey, what's a wrestler you watch to study and idolize? And honestly, it's a different wrestler, a different week. My style or my taste changes. It could be, 1 week I'm watching the Midnight Express and the Fantastics working in Mid-South. And then the next night I'm watching some Lucha Libre. And then I'm watching. Then the following night, 2 days later, I'm watching Johnny Saint, and Steve Gray, and all the European guys working the different ins and outs of different wrestling holds and everything. And then, you watch. I mean, I definitely love my Owen Harts, my Bret Harts. WrestleMania 10. Anytime somebody asks me, hey, what's a good match for me to watch? Hey, that's the first one. That opening match to WrestleMania 10. Bret and Owen. Nothing crazy, but it was a great story. Everything was solid. And, every time I watch that match back, I always learn something. I can always find something new to watch, and you can't I try not to limit myself to just guys that I just watch or that I can relate to. I watch guys that, you never know who you're going to learn from. I'll watch a lot of the All Japan and some of the New Japan stuff, not just the what's going on today, but the early '80s or the mid to late '80s and early '90s when you had the Kibashis and the Masawas and the Kawatas and the Akira Taways, and even with the Stan Hansons and the Terry Gordys. I mean, I'm not built like a Terry Gordy or a Stan Hansen or a Steve Williams, but man, there are certain things that they do and certain just their attitude and their presence. I might not be able to swing and pick guys up as effortlessly as Steve Williams did. But man, there's definitely something I could take from, every time I watch a match with somebody who's, who has that, just that presence in the ring.
Sure. You mentioned that Owen Hart and Bret Hart match, and the FTR match was on Dynamite a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of homages to that match.
Because what's the saying? What is old again is now new.
Absolutely.
And we're so, I'm talking to some of the kids that are signing up and getting ready to train, and I realize I'm 33 years old, and then I'm thinking I'm still kind of young until I realize some of these kids that are just starting to train, born in 2000, 2001. I was like, man, you guys are kids. And you look, it's like, no, they're 21, 22 years old. You know, the Attitude Era, that's old school to them. I'm thinking, oh, you know, that makes me feel old, you know.
Sure. That match in particular, what's interesting to me always is that it's so overshadowed by the ladder match on the same card.
Yeah.
Like the Shawn Michaels and Razor match. That's the one that everybody points to as the big historic match. But then whenever you talk to a wrestler, not a fan, but a wrestler like yourself, they always bring up that Owen Hart and Bret match.
Yeah, you know, I mean, my appreciation is definitely my appreciation for professional wrestling has evolved, especially now becoming a professional wrestler and stepping in the ring. There are matches that I would watch as a kid, and that's who I wanted to emulate and do all the, you know, the flips off the ladder, off the top rope. And then, you know, when you start to, you know, do all the flips and stuff off the top rope and all the crazy stuff, you realize, like, you know, I can't be doing that every night. Right. Especially, you know, if you're trying to make this last, you know, I don't want to be just, you know, a couple years in and then planning my retirement career or my retirement tour anytime soon. You know, and those matches, the Bret Hart match or the Owen Hart matches, those are timeless because just like you said, you know, FTR was able to, you know, take certain things and insert them into their match, and everybody, you know, they're nothing but you know, praise and, you know, compliments, and they're just, you know, telling a great story with, you know, with the least amount of craziness as far as, you know, high intensity or not high intensity, you know, high, you know, levels of possibly getting hurt or injured. But those stories, you know, those ladder matches, they only last until the next guy comes in and does the bigger jump or the bigger leap. You know, it takes a true worker, a true journeyman of professional wrestling to be able to tell a story in the ring, in the middle of the ring, just like those guys did. So yeah, props to FTR with that match.
Now, so you just mentioned, you kind of gave away your age and everything there, but you know, when you talk about WrestleMania 10, you were quite young at that point. Yeah. So it sounds like, you know, you've been involved pretty much your entire life with wrestling, either as a fan or as, you know, as a wrestler yourself. Yeah. Was there ever a gap? A lot of fans have a gap period at some point. Was there ever one for you, or straight?
I don't know if I wouldn't say a gap, but I know, you know, as a kid and growing up during the Attitude Era, everybody, you know, we all had our sides in elementary school where it was either WCW or WWF, and, you know, and then as I grew older, or I got older, you know, and with the internet coming up, you know, I was able to learn more about Ring of Honor and learn about independent wrestling. And maybe I would say maybe during high school and just out of high school, I may have had a little bit of a gap from watching, you know, what was on TV. And I got really into the Ring of Honor. And once, you know, my buddies introduced me to, you know, independent wrestling, then I found the pro wrestling guerrillas. And then eventually I found out about, you know, Japanese wrestling. And then I got, you know, I fell in love with the European style of wrestling. And then, you know, I thought there might have been a gap. I understand that some guys do have, or people have those gaps. I just it was like quicksand. I just kept getting deeper and deeper into the wrestling over the past couple of years.
I love the way, you know, you kind of described that, because I think it's true. A lot of people may only be exposed to WWE for many, many years, and then that is something I can see people, you know, grow out of. But then they discover, like you said, your Ring of Honors and your New Japans, and it's like a whole new thing. Mm-hmm. Whole new thing altogether. So glad that worked out for you. So final question. What is your message for Noah King this weekend?
Noah King, I'm excited. You know, I'm excited to get in the ring with you one-on-one. We've had a few times where we've been able to compete on opposite sides of tags and 6-man tags, and you know, I've been able to. My team has won 1 or 2, and his side, I'm gonna have to go back and check the records. But I know he's gotten some pins. So right now, or not right now, in a couple of days at Saturday Night Slam, it's just you and me, brother, and I'm ready. I've got some holds that you don't know about, and hopefully you got some holds that I don't know about, and hopefully your hold's a little bit better than my hold, brother. But I don't think so. We'll see.
All right, man. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Anything you want to talk about, your social media or anything to let people know where to find you?
Yeah, if anyone wants to follow me on the Instagram or the Twitter machine, it's at Florida Man Reed, READ. You guys can follow me there. And of course, you can check out all my upcoming dates and all my daily activities on the Instagrams and on the Twitters. And then anything with CCW, I'm sure they'll have their. I'm sure you'll plug them too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing, since we're talking about going out and finding you on Twitter and everything, is there a match that you like to point people to say this is the best TC Reed match that's available on the internet for you to watch? Is there one that you point people to?
Well, right now, I think that my most recent one with Fuego last month was definitely one I was very proud of. It was that match was one that I was very proud of. My match with Davey Richards back in December at the Hialeah Bash Unbranded Brewery. That was also a great match, just because of the fact that I wasn't even expecting to wrestle that night. And like 3 hours or 4 hours before I was even getting in the ring, I found that I was wrestling Davey Richards. So that was definitely a big fight or flight, or a sink or swim moment for me, because it was a true test of stepping in the ring, not just with somebody that I've watched and it was inspired by it at certain times, but he was a former Ring of Honor champion, former Impact champion. He wrestled for WWE NXT for some time. He's been all over the place. That was a great match too. And even when I got to wrestle with Gangrel at the very first Homestead Brewery event, that was definitely a great match that I take a lot of pride in too, because that was my first time wrestling Gangrel, somebody that I've been training with and looked up to over the past couple of years. I've never gotten to be able to wrestle one-on-one with Gangrel. So that was a great one, and I feel like I'm very proud of that one too. I know CCW's been putting them out all, by the time, I don't know if that one's online yet, but I mean, we still got plenty of time. Maybe by the time this goes live, it might be online.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It's funny that you mentioned that bash at the brew where you didn't know you were wrestling Davey Richards. It feels like every single bash, there's something that happens, last minute, whether it's scrambling to find chairs or a surprise Davey Richards TC Reed match. Something's happening every match.
Oh, what's that? Yeah, anything that sometimes if everything goes too smoothly, something's wrong. You always expect something to go. That's why you always got to be prepared. That's what it's number one rule when these kids start coming to events and they're looking for more experience. You always bring the gear. Leave it in the car, but you always always have that gear on deck, because you never know. I could have missed an opportunity to work and wrestle Davey Richards if I decided just to, leave my bag at home. So that was definitely a big, and of course, with chairs or some kind of canvas missing, or the guardrails aren't showing up, or the music man hasn't come yet. There's always something, but that's what makes CCW and professional wrestling very interesting from our side of the curtain.
Sure. So this Saturday in Homestead, Florida, Saturday Night Slam, that's May 14th. Coastal Championship Wrestling FL.com is where you can get your tickets. It'll be the Florida Man, TC Reed, squaring off against a bit of a rival in Noah King. So do get your tickets and get down to Homestead, Florida to see that match this Saturday. Once again, thanks a lot, TC Reed. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Absolutely. Well, that's our show, and thanks so much for watching and listening to CCW Insider this week. And thank you also to TC Reed for joining the show. He was a great guest. Even I enjoyed singing Take On Me during the intermission there, although I would less call it singing and more call it butchering, but you get the idea. As mentioned at the end of last week's show, we do have an interview with Ariel Levy coming up, so please stay tuned for that. Drop us a comment on who else you would like to see on the show, and follow us on social media. I'm Minutes to Bell Time on Facebook and Instagram, and Mins to Bell Time on Twitter. Be sure to watch Alive Wrestling every Tuesday on the CCW YouTube channel, and follow Coastal Championship Wrestling on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next week. You have been watching CCW Insider, produced by Minutes to Bell Time in association with Coastal Championship Wrestling.